Hi guys, this is Erica from Gokce Capital.
Now before I begin, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and turn on notifications. In 1825, a French millionaire was found dead in his home. When the police discovered him, he was lying amid overturned and broken furniture, as if a violent struggle had taken place. It was clear he had been murdered. The police quickly deduced that the crime had been committed as part of a robbery. But they had no suspects. The man lived alone, with no remaining family and no known enemies, and it did not appear that the burglar had left any clues as to his identity. The police couldn't even accurately determine which objects had been stolen from the house, for it was filled to the brim with odds and ends. Defeated, the police reluctantly turned to their rival, a former criminal and founder of the Paris Detective Department, the famous Vidocq. The flamboyant Vidocq took one look at the crime scene and came up with a plan, one that made him a legend. How did he solve the mystery? I'll let you know at the end of this video. But like Sherlock Holmes and his real-life counterparts, Vidocq was a detective and private investigator. In fact, he was perhaps the first of both. We all have images of the hard-bitten private investigator tracking down the identity and location of fugitives and unfaithful spouses. But in the age of the internet, you don't need to hire an investigator to find someone, for skip tracing software is available to just about anyone. Now, I know this idea probably makes many of you nervous, but as a property owner, especially if you own vacant land in a separate state from where you live, you may need to use these tools to find a neighboring property owner. So whether you need to use skip tracing yourself, or you just want to understand it so you can better protect your own privacy, here are the top things you should know. Number 1. Skip tracing is the process of finding a person who cannot be located in typical searches. In the past, this would be the kind of service that we typically think of as being provided by a private investigator. To date, there are still professional skip tracers, but unlike a private investigator, their job is really more to find information on a person rather than undertake a full investigation. Typically, someone who has skipped town to avoid paying debts, thus the origin of the name. So a skip tracer will look through public resources, such as credit reports, DMV records, public property records, loan applications, background checks, job applications, court records, and utility bills. And they will aggregate all of the information they can find in these public resources. Number 2. Skip tracing is indeed legal, but there are laws governing how you can use the information found. Therefore, if you're looking for skip tracing services, it is important you use only professional skip tracers or service providers that follow all rules and regulations, and that you only use the information for lawful activities. Now, I'm not a lawyer myself, so I'm not familiar with all the laws regulating uses of skip tracing information. But one example from my own experience includes getting an address for a neighboring property owner so that we can send them a letter letting them know they are encroaching on our property. Number 3. As my previous example showed, skip tracing is used in real estate typically to find the owner of a property. Real estate investors often use these services to send offers to an owner of a property. But as my story showed, skip tracing could also be used to get in touch with the neighboring property owner, either to start a discussion around an issue or to let the neighboring owner know that you are selling your property. Number 4. There are professional skip tracers who you can hire, but in this day and age, most people who need skip tracing services use an online platform. These platforms are typically data aggregators that have access to various public databases and combine the information from all of the various databases in one report. The kind of information that may be available on such services include a property owner's name, mailing address, phone numbers associated with that property owner, possibly an email address, and even information on relatives in some cases. So I'm sure hearing all of this makes some of you nervous, and you may be wondering, can you hide information from skip tracers? Well, first I will reiterate that there are rules and regulations governing how information provided by skip tracers can be used, but many of you I know want your privacy protected altogether. Unfortunately, while there are ways to hide your information, it can be very hard. And this is a very large topic which I'm not going to go over in detail in this video, But suffice it to say that you should assume that any information you have provided to a third party, including governments and banks, is available to certain parties. It's also important to understand that if you're a property owner, you do need to provide an address to the county or city assessor so that they can send you tax bills. And this address is of public record. The vast majority of the time, you don't even need a skip tracer to find it. You can simply look up your address in public assessor databases. So if you are very concerned about your privacy, one of the first things you can do is get a P.O. box that you always associate with your address. For this to fully protect your privacy, however, you need to make certain that you never give out your actual address, including in DMV records. You can also contact all government offices, including the county clerk, where your property records are kept, and the DMV, to see what information they have and are willing to redact. You can also have them change your current address to your P.O. box. Another simple thing you can do is remove yourself from people's search sites like whitepages.com. And if you do a quick Google of yourself, you will quickly discover which sites have some basic information on you. But let's return to our Victorian murder. How did the crafty Vidocq solve the crime? Well, Vidocq first scoured the crime scene and noticed traces of blood on the door latches and floor. He then baffled police officers by ordering that the stains be preserved. However, it was his next move that caused the greatest uproar. He threw off his stylish outfit and descended into the criminal underworld in the guise of his alter ego, Monsieur Jules, a thug and burglar. He crawled from tavern to tavern, eyeing the patrons and searching for someone who matched his profile. Big, strong, and looking like they had just been in an ugly fight. Finally, he found a man who fit the bill. And what did Vidocq do next? He challenged the man to a fight. When the police arrived to break up the fight, Vidocq quickly whipped out a handkerchief and wiped away the blood from a wound the fight had opened in Vidocq's adversary. For Vidocq, while lacking formal education himself, was keenly interested in science and knew that blood, when exposed to certain chemicals, would turn different colors. So he performed a rudimentary blood test on both the stains at the crime scene and the blood on the handkerchief. The results matched. Unfortunately, this kind of early testing could never be used in court, but that didn't matter. Vidocq was only concerned with leverage. When he confronted his suspect, now sitting in a jail cell for brawling, with proof of his culpability in the murder, the suspect folded and confessed to everything. A good story, no? And a big shout out to the book Brilliant Deduction, where this story is from. Now, do you have any stories about private investigators or skip tracing? Let us know in the comments. Did you like this video? You're going to love our Gokce Land Due Diligence program. We'll make you a land due diligence expert in just 7 days. Check it out at gokcecapital.com/glad. And while you're at our website, don't forget to explore our $1 down properties at gokcecapital.com/listings. Finally, don't hesitate to reach out with any questions. You can email, call, or text, and we will respond as soon as possible. So thank you for listening, and more to come.